Was anyone, when you guys made these changes, sitting in the room saying, let's Americanize our game? When you guys meet, who drives the bus? Because this is the online tin hat community, the CFL tin hat community, thinks that you just magically appeared, okay, showed up and said, these are new rules and everyone better fall in line. Is that how it works? What would you say were the biggest successes of your first year, and perhaps what you think the league or your office needs to improve on the most? In 5 years, where do you want the CFL to be? Canadian expansion? Did I cause you some problems this year, man? Welcome to episode 9 of Film Never Lies, and I'm not going to lie to you guys right off the bat. This is what I've been most looking forward to. Yes, we've had Marshawn Lynch on. Yes, we've had Alfonso Davies on. But when we made this pod, I said to producer Rob, I hope we can get this guy on. He'll say yes. Not only did he say yes, he's our first in-studio guest. This guy started at TSN in 1997 as an intern. Worked his way up from what I believe they call the role all the way to the president of TSN. And then in April of 2025, he became commissioner of the Canadian Football League. It's none other than Commissioner Stewart Johnston. We got Spros. We got Commissioner Stu. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Luke. Cheers. These are not the shots I was hoping to share with you, but still good nonetheless.
No question. Okay,
Great
so
to be here.
I'm excited. I've got a little caffeinated.
Yep.
Been looking forward to this. I mean, obviously, it was my first year covering the league. It was your first year as the commissioner of the league. I still do consider myself the people's commish, but
That's all right. It's a tag team.
That's right. I want to start, though. I mentioned in 1997, and for people listening right now, when I got to TSN, you're kind of a bit of a folk hero around here, and I mean that, because you started as an intern in 1997.
Yep.
Can you tell me your journey from then to being president of TSN? I know there's a lot in there.
There's a lot in there. I'll try not to take up your entire 40 minutes with my career journey, but I banged on the door of human resources at TSN, and I said, please, I will do anything. Let me in. When TSN launched in 1984, it was one of the greatest days of my very young life at that time. Just having sports desks come on at 6:30 every day with highlights. I looked forward to that every day. So they let me in as an intern in the programming department, and I couldn't believe it. You walk around the studios and you see TVs everywhere, and all of them showing sports, and everyone's talking sports all day. What could be better? So I used to work late and work hard, and loved every second of it. Had a few lucky breaks along the way. Eventually started doing deals for major properties to go on to TSN. My background was business, coming into the network, and from there, about 13 years later, they asked me to lead the charge.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Very cool story.
Absolutely.
I want to say, so one of the things you said that you started doing major deals with TSN properties.
Yes.
Was there any point of your TSN career where those deals involved the CFL?
Oh yeah, I probably led the negotiations with the CFL for at least 3 contracts.
So let me get this straight. Time out.
Yes.
You're telling me then that you didn't just magically appear in the CFL realm?
No, I've been very close to the CFL. In fact, probably the CFL's largest single professional partner has been TSN over the course of my time.
For sure.
And then I, as president and the lead in that partnership, have been lockstep with the CFL for the last 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah, so no, I worked incredibly close. I've probably been to 20 Grey Cups, excuse me, and worked very closely with the last 5 commissioners. So no, it's been a great run.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It has been.
A long time.
It has.
Before we get into, some of the heavy, I got some heavy hitters for you later.
Okay.
But one of the questions I had for you personally was, you're the president of TSN. I believe your last official title transcended TSN and went to all of Bell Media. Do I have that correct?
You do, yep.
Okay. Not that, all jobs are difficult, but the commissioner job, you face a lot more criticism. Why make the jump?
Yeah, certainly when people ask me, what's the greatest surprise or thing you've discovered since you took on the commissioner role, I'd say, look, even with all the experience I've had with the league, I probably underestimated just how high profile the job was.
Yeah.
And And that's because the CFL is an institution in this country with an incredible, passionate fan base. And so, yeah, in the old role, as much as I was front and center with a lot of employees and a lot of partners and doing a lot of kind of major media things, was never near the profile that I currently have. So why did I make that jump? I love the league. I love the game. I'd been working so closely with the CFL for so long that I could see that the league was in a really good position for growth. I really believe that. I think this is a special moment in time for our league and our game. We've got incredibly strong ownership, the strongest I've seen in my 25 years in dealing with the league. The teams are all marching forward with positive momentum, ticket sales, game day revenue, ratings. All of those do bode well for the future. And football as a sport, I think, is having a moment in North America.
Oh,
right?
yeah, you don't got to tell me.
No, I don't.
You don't got to tell me.
I don't.
Massive moment.
Massive moment. And that's both at the professional level,
yes,
amateur, flag, Olympics, all of that together.
Absolutely.
I just said it's just an exciting time. I want to see where we can go with this league to make sure we are locked in as a top-tier, major professional sports property in this country.
I love that, and I got some questions for you. But before we get into, again, we're going to get to rule changes because I know there's a lot of people that want to talk about that and want to hear you. And I got some personal gripes. All right. I'm getting too excited. We'll back it up, though. Let's go your first season. Just ended.
Yes.
You said you underestimated the profile that you would get from there. If you had to reflect on your first year, not including any sort of rule changes.
Right.
What would you say were the biggest successes of your first year, and perhaps what you think the league or your office needs to improve on the most?
Well, I think successes include just the overall delivery of an outstanding season. I think overall, our game quality index, the football product that was on the field was excellent. Our quarterback gameplay was excellent. And I think some of the rules, not the recent rule changes, but rule changes over the last few years that have been put in place to protect quarterbacks, to avoid hits to the head, to really try and make sure everyone is staying as healthy as possible and doing what they do best, which is perform on the field. I think we've done a great job with that product. Our digital engagement is growing exponentially. So we're seeing social and digital engagement and impressions and video views all grow. Ratings has been fantastic. The Grey Cup was a huge success.
Nice.
Really all across the board, with credit to the Bombers organization for putting on such a fantastic week and ultimately an outstanding game on the field. Our halftime show was incredibly well received. And then 4 million average minute audience is a massive number for that game. So I think a lot about what we delivered and marketed and put forward was a big success.
Yeah, can I echo my own experience in the Grey Cup? I was blown away, and I'm not spewing nonsense. Like, from the moment I landed in Winnipeg,
yes,
I was like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I've been to a lot of Super Bowls, both as a player and covering it. And I'm like, wow, it was like much more of an intimate experience. I mean that in like a positive way for a fan. Just all the parties, kind of the energy, the fans there. I loved that game. I thought there was a lot of very, very cool football moments in that game, and I'm a bit of a football junkie. So I loved the game, the coaching decisions in it. Davis Alexander playing on one leg, just his grittiness. All in all, and I'm not an MGK guy, but he killed it. I was sitting there in the TSN area, and I'm like, yo, this guy is like, I really enjoyed the game. So I'm glad to hear it was viewed as a massive success as well.
It was. I think just really from start to finish, and having the Prime Minister come to
I shook his hand.
Yeah,
I shook his hand.
Look, I mean, it really, regardless of anyone's politics, this is the Prime Minister of the country attending the biggest sporting event in Canada, and I think that is exactly how it should be. And it was wonderful to welcome the Prime Minister there. So really, a lot good that did happen. It felt great.
What about in areas of improvement?
Well, how about our website going down on my third day on the job doing the CFL draft? That wasn't so excellent.
Yeah,
going down on a
that.
preseason game, not great.
Yeah.
So, we're addressing that. We're doing a massive overhaul of our entire website. We are going to launch an app finally for this league.
Love that.
In the new year. So, I hate that did happen, but I'm thrilled that our Board of Governors have said, that's right, we agree, and we're investing to try and make sure that we are a digital-first organization when it comes to delivering for our fans. So I think those were some hiccups that I wasn't thrilled with.
First year on the job, man. Third day, you said?
That was the third day on the job.
It's your fault, though. It's your fault.
Hey, look, the buck stops here. It really does. So we had some issues along the way that I tell the team at the league office, we have to execute with excellence. There's no room for errors right now. We have to operate with excellence, and for the large part, I think our team has. I think our clubs have, and certainly the players on the field have. So I'm going to be a perfectionist when it comes to how we execute, and things where we don't deliver for our fans, where we aren't focused on entertainment, are going to be unacceptable.
I love that. Stu, I got to get into this now. We got to get into the rule changes. I'm going to have a little more spro here.
Thank you. I might need another one.
We might have to get going here. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a bit of a personal story with me and the rule changes. The night before, so there was this rumor floating around online. As you know, I was pretty active on the Twitter space this year. And there was like, oh, guys signing NDAs, blah, blah, blah. And I've been like looped into this thing. So for the record, I was not signed an NDA. I had heard some rumblings, but I'm like, what's coming down the pipeline? So I was pretty excited for the press conference.
Right.
I was not at the press conference, but I made sure I had it in my little calendar. I'm like, I got to make sure I tune into this thing.
Yeah.
So the night before, and I don't really want to like give some of these people too much life, but I go on Twitter and my whole feed, like, the algorithms now? So my entire algorithm is CFL stuff, okay? So the algorithm is exploding with a term called the Americanization of football, okay? And my blood is starting to boil. Of course, it's done by an anonymous source. Anonymous sources said tomorrow's announcement is going to be Americanization. And my first thought of just the lunacy of that word, and you can tell me, I'm going to ask you verbatim, okay? But I'm going on a rant here. I've been waiting to tell you this rant.
Okay.
Okay? And I said this to Dave Naylor, and he was like, what does that even mean? It's becoming more like the American game. So is the Canadianization of football, what, are we going to go to 2 downs? Are we going to make a longer field? Do we want 40-yard end zones? So any sort of change, even if it's not the exact same, all of a sudden now it's the Americanization of it. I thought that was such a cheap thing. And I understand that there's a lot of people that are protective of the CFL. But for me personally, I'm like, there's one thing of being protective, it's another thing to be overprotective. Things evolve. And I will say this, okay, I don't think that back in the 19-whatevers, when it was rugby in America actually started with the forward pass, that the people were griping back then when we introduced the forward pass, which unfortunately comes from the United States, saying, we're Americanizing football.
Maybe they did. I don't know.
I don't know. It's such a ridiculous take to me. But I'm like, all right, this won't have any life. Ended up having some life. And then I wanted to, this one really upset me. It really, me personally. And I got producer Rob to pull the clip. Individual comes up at the press conference and he asks a question. And it was basically for me an I gotcha moment. And I was like, well, there's only one way. It was a very misleading question. You can feel free to disagree. It's my own opinion. Producer Rob, can we play this question? And I'm going to read the exact question afterwards.
In the past, there's been some rumors about the league potentially going to 4 downs. The hardcore fans are going to look at these changes and think this is going that way. Can you guarantee that under your watch, the CFL will never go to 4 downs?
I don't offer guarantees. I don't say the word never. However, I will say this was our major focus on the rules of the game and the infrastructure on which we play. I think you're going to hear a lot from myself and the league with exciting announcements over the next coming weeks and months. We're not focused on rules. Of course, we have a rules committee, and it will annually look to tweak and improve our game. But we have a lot of other exciting announcements we're working on, and that's our focus.
All right. First off, very buttoned up there. Suit looked good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the new swag they say with the big collar. I don't got one of those yet. But I'll say this. I'm like, you're an executive. I don't want to speak for you, but the fact that someone asks you to guarantee and never, I think of Roger Goodell, and I've been to a couple of his State of the Union addresses. First off, nobody's asking a question that's that misleading. Or, secondly, what do you want to say? Like, what are you supposed to say? Hey, I guarantee it. I'll tell you this right now. If somebody were to ask Roger Goodell that same question about the NFL, will you ever go to 3 downs? He would have answered it the exact same way. Never say never.
Look, yeah, that's how I did answer it. You know what was going through my head when that question came through?
I would love, yeah.
There's an expression that's been around for 300 years. There are only 2 certainties in life: death and taxes.
I knew
that is it.
Yes.
That's a 300-year-old expression and still kind of holds.
Yeah, it definitely holds.
And so really, in a world that moves as fast as ours does, the thought of saying, oh, for the next 200 years, we're going to guarantee this, it just never.
It's mind-numbing.
It's mind-numbing. And again, you know, you talked about how this rumor went around or this theory went around on the Americanization.
Yeah, oh, we're going to get into this.
It was so far from anyone's thought at the league office that it was a shock. It was
I'm
like hard to
asking
even
you
prepare
point
for it.
blank. It's the Board of Governors.
All right.
I want to hear this. It's the Board of Governors. I would love to know how it goes down. Was anyone, when you guys made these changes, sitting in the room saying, let's Americanize our game?
Not a chance.
Not a person.
Not a person, not a thought, nothing. it truly took us all aback because it was not ever a consideration. This was literally about some modernization of some rules that will allow our game to be exposed in the best possible light.
And again, what drives me a bit insane is I'm just like, why, for some of these guys who have been around the CFL and have really been given the privilege to cover it how they did really grinded my gears, because I'm like, this league has given a lot to a lot of people. That's one of the things where I think I am in a very different scenario than almost all the media members of the CFL. Was as much as I am the new guy who didn't play in the league, I also haven't had the privilege of having a livelihood based around the league.
Well, I think that, you know, what you hope from all journalists is that they are reflecting kind of the perspective of their audience and also provoking and questioning, you know, things that they don't understand themselves personally. And I'm okay with all of that. Stoking the fire is a different thing, right? There's a difference
I'm gonna lose my
between
mind.
those two things.
That's all it was.
And so
Clickbait rage.
Yeah, well.
And that's how we went. And the title, I'll spare you, you probably saw it. The next day, it's like, Commissioner doesn't guarantee 4 downs isn't coming. That's one of the titles of one article, and it goes rampant. And it's the Americanization. I'm like, these are guys that are supposed to be helping the game out. Why would you create this false narrative?
Well, look, Luke, I'm not going to address the folks who wrote the articles or the headlines. I'll just say that, you know, I think at the State of the League, we wanted to make sure we address this as clearly as possible, that we are focused on what we believe is what truly makes the CFL game so special. 3 downs, 12 players, wide field, big end zones, yard off the ball, motion, halo. When we do surveys, those are the things that come up
Totally.
with what reflects so wonderfully about our game and what makes our game amazing and special.
And it's not, like, as a guy who, so right now I coach, I would say a pretty high level. 18-year-olds were very good. If you ever want to come to London, Ontario,
I will do so.
Very good team. You know, I grew up in high school playing Canadian ball. Mm-hmm. My dad played at the University of Windsor. Brother played at the University of Western. A lot of friends that have played in the CFL. I've also played the American game. Mm-hmm. Like, when people are like, oh, the game's becoming American, I'm like, it's not even really close. Like, and even from an offensive play caller, which is, again, I'm not a professional play caller, but I'm like, this is utterly ridiculous because the two schemes are not even close. So from an X and O standpoint, yes, football's football, but the differences are across the board. So that's another personal gripe of mine with that stupid word. I'm going to try not to say it anymore. But I want a quick pivot here, Stu, and talk about the Board of Governors and their role in creating these rules. Mm-hmm. So I have no idea. Like, when you guys meet, who drives the bus? Because this is the online tin hat community, the CFL tin hat community, thinks that you just magically appeared, okay, showed up and said, these are new rules and everyone better fall in line. Is that how it works?
No, that is not. That is definitely not how it works. We've got an amazing team in our football operations group at the league office. And so we spent the summer with that group. It's got, I think we counted up 300 years of experience in football amongst the group that's there. They're the ones, again, every year looking at different rules and discussing kind of how we can continue to improve the game. And we said, okay, well, let's look at a couple of things here that can modernize the game while making sure that the core of our game is absolutely protected. And they ran the data, they did the research, we kind of came through, well, look at the benefits of really the absolute catalyst of it all was taking that obstruction that's in the middle of our field, called the goalposts, and saying, opening up our end zones. That was the catalyst. And so in looking at that, we realized, my goodness, the benefits are almost countless to moving those goalposts back to the back of the end zone. And so once we gathered all the data and understood kind of this is going to be a recommendation we'd like to put forward, we did. And we did and spoke to each of the league governors, allowed them to ask their questions individually, and then ultimately got together at a Board of Governors meeting and had a full-blown discussion of here's what we could do, here's the output of what we think that will give us, and then it ended up in a unanimous
So
vote of support. It's oh my goodness.
So every team's Board of Governor unanimously voted for these.
Correct.
I mean, and again, I've caught some heat online because I like the rules a lot. I'll be honest, my favorite rule, I was going to ask you, my favorite rule change is actually the sidelines and the play clock.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was ridiculous. As a guy who understands like this side of it, I think for fans, and I would try and tell some of these fans this when they'd ask me off camera, I'm like thinking to myself, hey, it's 1st and goal from the 4, and we go to jumbo personnel. Okay, here we go. We got some phases up right now. Go to jumbo personnel, and you got your extra tight end who's 330 pounds, and he's got to jog 75 yards because he's on the same sideline. It's on the opposite end of the field. Oh, and by the way, the play clock doesn't blow in yet because we got to let everybody sub. And then this guy's got to go out here and maul somebody. Like, and this is all due respect to 330-pound guys, but we don't need them jogging 75 yards to get into the huddle.
No, we don't. We also don't need 2 benches next to each other where melees might happen.
It's amazing there has been more melees.
That's it. It is, again, we talk about being a top-tier major professional sports league. I don't think you can do that with our 2 football benches on the same side of the field.
I would agree with that.
And
aesthetically, it's disgusting for me too.
It's small, but I think important. I think that a standard play clock allows us to give an expectation of our coaches and players of how long there is in between each play.
Absolutely.
And it's not random. Often 40 seconds, 45 seconds, depending on when it gets blown in. Let's give some consistency, and with benches on both sides, that issue of a long run in a substitution gets mitigated because you can have your subs much closer to the ball.
Totally. Yeah. That's my favorite. Do you got a favorite? Would it be the goalposts?
It's goalposts.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my second.
It is goalposts for sure. I think it is an obstruction that affects your offense coming down. It affects your defense getting picked. It affects your punt game from your own end zone. It affects your offensive game when you are on your own 1-yard line or 2-yard line.
Yes.
You're completely blocked from half the field. It is, without a doubt, the one that I think is the most important in terms of modernizing our game.
Tough to disagree. I'm here. I'm going to try, but it's tough to disagree. Let's talk aftermath for you, the league office, of the rule changes. So, and what I found this year is another personal one, with terms of me covering the league, not even rule changes. Online versus in person is a very different experience, and the first time I learned that was actually in Winnipeg. I was a little nervous going to Winnipeg, and I'm like, this might get a little testy today. And went around Winnipeg, and a lot of people were like, dude, there's a ton of Jay Onrait fans. That really helps me. There's a ton. Shout out my favorite human being on planet Earth.
And a fan here as well.
Yes, yeah. So there's a lot of Jay Onrait fans in Winnipeg. And a lot of them were like, man, I really love like to see. And it was like so relieving because like you're a bit nervous. You're like, man, how's this going to go today? And I have a bit of a temper. So it's not good. I'm like, Luke, you got to stay calm no matter what happens. You know, and I did have a couple situations. One lady, you'll appreciate this, comes down after the game. I was talking to a gentleman. We were chopping it up. I'll never get this, Stu. She comes down and she's ripping me. I'm like, yo. And she's like, I know your real goal. I'm like, what's my real goal? Like, she's like, you just want to cover the NFL at TSN. I go, lady, I'm not sure what rock you're living on, but I don't know. Like,
You've been doing that for a bit. You've been doing that for a bit. Yes.
I'm like, that's not the goal. I've been doing that.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
But anyway, at that point too, it kind of put things in perspective to me, where I'm like, some of these people, whatever they read online, they just have no clue. Like when someone looks me in the face and tells me my real goal was to cover the NFL on TSN, I was like, it actually was a strange moment for me with the whole like CFL online thing. Because I'm like, oh, like this is the level of delusions you could potentially be dealing with.
Well, I think that for me, it is, look, we've got a wide, large, full of variety fan base, full of passion. And like you said, there's some online rhetoric that I just think has been stoked perhaps with some just inaccurate information. And then there's some that legitimately want to say, hey, I don't get it. And that I'm totally cool with. I don't get it. I don't understand the rules. I don't understand if they're going to help our game or not. To which I'd say, look, it's I can't prove it out until we actually do it.
Yeah.
So we are asking for some faith until we can enact them. And believe me, waiting until 2027 is agonizing for me because it's going to take that long to get this stuff through. But the amount of fans that have come up to me and said, hey, I love what you're doing. Hey, I was unsure at first, but then I thought it through, and now I totally get it. Or, hey, I was talking, my 22-year-old and 25-year-old kids are telling me this is exactly right. Player agents who represent the vast majority of the players in our league telling me their entire roster is supportive. So I think there is, like in life, the online community that is loud and vocal is not necessarily representative of the large majority of people, and it's not to discount people's feelings. But like this is whether it's been stoked or just a legitimate reaction or very poor messaging on my part. It created a reaction with some, and we've got to make sure that we are reaffirming our messaging. Hey, I think
he's cleansing himself. Machine's going.
That's it.
We should have had more Spros. It's shutting down.
It's that.
Yeah.
Well, let's fire it back up.
What's going on here? I might have to click it back on a sec.
Yeah.
But I agree with everything you're saying. And I'll say this, what's been interesting is, to me, I wish there were a little more people that were more vocal. One of the things that really annoyed me, and again, I know I'm telling you, was the amount of people, media and specifically, that would text me on the side, like, love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Hey, I love this.
Yes.
But didn't really have, for lack of a better term, it is a podcast, but didn't really have the nuts to say it publicly. So I'd be like, well, if you love what I'm doing so much, why don't you say it online? That was a tough pill for me to swallow from a lot of colleagues this year, where I'm like, wow, so I'll just be like the sacrificial lamb for you guys.
Well, I think Luke, over the course of this season, you've proven that your passion is unmatched for our game, and your insight, I've always known, has been at the top level of anyone who covers football.
Did I cause you some problems this year, man?
Yeah, I got asked about you. I wouldn't say cause me problems, but I
okay.
certainly got asked about you a number of times, and my answer was always the same. I think you are one of the best football broadcasters in the world.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you for that.
I do.
Yeah.
And I've watched your evolution from when you first came to TSN, covering the NFL, and where you've got to over these last couple of years is spectacular. One of the things I love most about the way you cover football is you bring an X's and O's mentality, but with real people's English.
Yes.
And the way you explain X's and O's, I think, is unique. And I love it. And I also don't mind opinions. I don't mind if you say you disagree with something with me, that's fine. Let's get people talking about our league. And it's just an opinion. Now, there were some times where I wished you would use different language in some of the things that you were saying, because I think those became almost more the story than the actual take you were offering. But overall supportive. And really what it comes back to is I talk an awful lot about how we are living and fighting in the attention economy. And look at what's happening here. In this interview, here 3 months, 4 months after the rule changes, we are still talking about it. We've done the math on how much the CFL has been in the conversation, the public conversation in Canada over the last 3-4 months. It's never been seen before. And I still say that debate is great. Have people, express their opinions, hopefully respectfully, and talking about the CFL. The amount of people we have talking about the CFL who've never talked about the CFL before. I mean, it's just general public, light fans, non-fans, medium fans, is spectacular. And we need to continue to do that because it is so competitive for people's attention that if we're not making some noise, if we're not making sure that people are saying, hey, look what this league is doing. They're pushing forward, they're modernizing, and then we can have debates on whether you like how they're doing it. We're gonna fall backwards.
So it's funny. I spent about 6 months of my life, but it was COVID times with Jay Glazer. Okay, and Jay and I, again, back then this was like peak lockdown times.
Right.
I was living by myself. I ended up I was renting a house. There was, I think, 4 houses away from Jay. And he said to me something, and Jay has obviously covered the NFL for a very long time. I don't know how many Emmys that whole Fox show has, but I'd say he's a pretty good resource in that sense. But he's like, I'll never forget this. He said, the NFL is America's biggest soap opera. He didn't mean that as a negative thing whatsoever.
No.
But in my media career, I'll often think about that, and I go back to even this past weekend in the NFL, like with some of the gruesome injuries.
Yes.
It's just, the storylines never end. And I always say this about the CFL from my side of it. If we want to grow the CFL, there's this big, let's market the CFL. Talk about the CFL. Crunch the CFL, whether it's big picture, whether it's X and O's, let's just talk about it.
That's right.
But it was a very weird world for me to get into because it was like, for me, on the online side of it, if you didn't stand lock and step with a couple of you don't think this way, don't ever speak.
Right.
And I'm like, how do we defeat that sort of narrative and be like, listen, this is pro ball. You can say whatever you want. It gets settled on the field. Like you said, in 2027, we're going to know. We're going to know whether or not the rule changes are working, not working. That's the best part about the soap opera, is at some point, it all gets settled on the field.
Right. I mean, and that's it. I love what you said. Let's just talk about the CFL. Talk about it and talk about what you love. Talk about what you think can be improved. Debate. All of that is so incredibly important. If you're not talking about us, then we're falling out of the consciousness of the public. And this is a time where, we need to, plan out our next media deals here with Bell and in the U.S. and around the world. We need to grow. And we have such an amazing game that I think we should be appealing to the broadest population, of course, here in Canada, but it's such a cool game. Why can't anyone outside of Canada fall in love with it?
I agree with that. And circling back to the beginning of what you said early, football is booming.
Yes.
And I don't think there's such thing as too much football. You only play one game a week. One of the beautiful things we have about football, and even the way it's set up, and you saw that this year, every game matters. One of the things I love about following both leagues is that week 5 loss will sting you. I mean, it'll sting, later on if you're trying to be a playoff team. So it just kind of creates this environment, this culture where game day is so intense and you can feel that authenticity through the TV. I love it. And then this is going to lead me to, you just said, growing it. So in 5 years, where do you want the CFL to be? And then
Well-
I'm going to give you a 5-year. I'm going to give you a 10-year.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, these are tough.
Well, all right. Well, let me first, before I even go there, just reinforce how much I agree with your perspective that it's not the biggest idea in the world. Most people recognize it, but one of the biggest advantages football has as a sport is scarcity, and that scarcity of product makes Week 5 that important.
Important.
And it makes all 9 or 10, if you count preseason, of our home dates per team an event. It's an event to go to. And as someone who grew up having wonderful relationships with every major professional sports league in North America and many international leagues as well, volume of games is actually great to fill network airtime. But in terms of driving interest, that scarcity of product is perhaps football's greatest advantage after the fact that it's the best game in the world. So I couldn't agree more, and we need to continue to make every game an event and every week so important. I think us launching year-long fantasy is going to be a big part of that.
Big part
right?
of that.
It's just going to reinforce that feeling amongst our fans. So I love it. I'm so excited. In 5 years, I hope that we have continued to grow every single metric that we've seen great momentum on. Like, I've got to make sure that everything from our top line revenue to our overall audiences, whether they be on linear or digital, our social content, all of that has tracked the right way. I talk about 3 kind of key areas that we focus on at the league. It's a relentless focus on entertainment. It is making sure that all of our teams are sustainable and that we grow the game of football in Canada. And so in 5 years, I want to see more players than ever playing tackle or flag in our country. I want to see us celebrate a gold medal at the LA Olympics.
Paul LaPolice.
And Paul LaPolice is going to deliver in both men's and women's.
Yeah.
I want to see that delivered. I want to see just this moment in football actually become an explosive moment because we've grown the game together collectively in those who play, participate, become fans, become refs, become coaches, become players. That is so important. So I think we're going to be in a great place there. And I would like to see in 5 years that we're a 10-team league.
Okay, expansion.
Yeah.
Canadian expansion?
Canadian expansion.
That was another tin hatter. That was another tin hatter. Just letting you know on the I don't know what you call it, the bowels of the internet. Okay, that you're trying to get a bunch of American teams in here.
No, our goal is. It's funny. I've probably done, I don't know, 100 media hits since I started as commissioner.
Yeah.
And I'm 100 for 100, and people have asked me about expansion. It's been the one question that's been consistent amongst every single media hit.
Yes.
And that tells you how important it is to everybody. It's been talked about at the league office for an awful long time. And I've kind of downplayed it as a top priority. I gave you my 3 key priorities. But it is important. I think we have to get to a 10th team. We have the capability and the capacity to do that in Canada. We have some great markets that are available to us that don't have teams. Getting a stadium, of course, that's CFL ready is the most important potential obstacle and then solution to having a team delivered. And I truly hope that whereas it wasn't a top priority in year 1, by year 5, we've made incredible progress towards it, if not landed it.
Stu, I'll tell you this, okay, and I do catch some heat for this online because a lot of people think that I'm like some sort of shill for the league. But as a kid who grew up, and this is a story that I've told online a few times, I grew up in the Windsor area, LaSalle, Ontario, and I remember like there's not a very heavy CFL presence down there, especially with its proximity to Detroit. Mm-hmm. I was an Argos fan growing up. Pinball Clemens would have been my favorite guy. But I remember being a kid and like thinking to myself, like it was actually Nate Burleson. Nate Burleson was on the Lions. So this was a bit later, but I remember being like, whoa, like Nate Burleson's Canadian. And I happened to meet Nate because his family's from Washington State, or grew up in Washington State area. Unbelievable guy. But I remember when I was a teenager, whenever it was, being like, oh, Nate's father played in the CFL. I think he moved when he was like 3 to Washington. So, like, there's not a ton of parallels. And for a large part of the country, and I'm speaking from direct experience, there's not a ton of people to look up to when it comes to football players, you know? And to me, the things what gets me most excited, and I'm just tipping my cap to here, is that outside of Winnipeg and Saskatchewan that have great cultures, I think everywhere else has been slacking a bit. And just the buzz that has come where I'm like, man, there are going to be kids in Edmonton soon that are like going to understand like Cody Fajardo might become a household name over there. You know, you think of Montreal, you know, I think of Anthony Calvillo. And now I'm hoping if his leg heals up, you know, it's going to be Davis Alexander.
Right.
And like these guys, to me, like when you talk about growing the game, yes, it's on the field, but just the legacy some of these players leave off. So for like kids in Windsor can be like, hey man, like I know so-and-so from London, Ontario down the road, or Andy Fantuz is from Chatham.
Absolutely.
So that was my guy growing up. He's a bit older than me, and I happen to know Andy now. You know, and it was like when I was playing in the Essex Ravens, back then it was called the OVFL, everyone's like, you could be the next Andy Fantuz. That was a thing that was always said to me. Like it matters a lot. You know, it matters too. And I just love the fact that like somebody is in charge and is like, let's get this thing going and grow it and make it as great as it can be.
No, that's it. And it's a collective effort, and it's with the likes of partners like you. It's with all our teams. It's with our players. We have such an incredible product. I truly believe it's the best sport in the world. And if we are successful in taking it what I think is to not just the next level, but the level after that, in terms of popularity and fandom and participation, I think it's going to be a wild ride over these next few years.
And then the final thing I'll say, going back to the youth, is it's also not as expensive as some other sports.
Correct.
You look at hockey, and it just is what it is. You got to buy a lot of equipment. Ice time is extremely expensive. You know, for at the youth level, I'm like, it's much more inclusive to me because there's usually a registration fee. Most clubs have their own equipment. Like, you don't go buy a helmet. At least I haven't. You know, you don't go buy your uniform. It's like these are how things go. So there is obviously registration. The rosters are bigger, so shrinking fields. You know, there's a lot of great things that I think are set up, and I'm pretty excited for the future of the CFL.
I am as well. Thanks, Luke. I couldn't be more excited. I think that all of that makes a ton of sense. Where I think flag is a great, really accessible way into the game of football.
You're going to have to get me on the flag train.
Okay.
This is a small confession.
Okay.
Paul Lapalisse might text me after this.
Okay.
I'm not a huge flag guy.
All right.
I like the contact.
But I do think, look, if you introduce flag at the age of 6, 7, 8,
100%.
9, then you start to learn the rules of football, even if they're slightly adapted. But understand you're throwing, catching, running.
Yes.
And you do that, I think it's going to just encourage you to say, hey, I love this sport. I want to try tackle.
Yeah, love that. So before I let you go, though, we do this thing every week, top 5, and every week it changes. One week we had top 5 Tom Cruise movies, which, by the way, it's actually a hard.
Oh, that is almost impossible.
Yeah, it's a tough list.
Almost. Recency bias, it's got to be Top Gun Maverick.
Very fair.
It's safe cinema.
Yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow.
Quick story.
Yes.
Quick story. I went through, I put Edge of Tomorrow, I think it was number 3 on my list. I was getting killed. Back to Jay Onright. He came in, I'm like, yo, everyone's killing me for one of the guys on my list. I said, Edge of Tomorrow. He said, absolutely not.
Absolutely.
You're an Edge of Tomorrow guy,
Edge of Tomorrow guy, 100%.
Emily Blunt in there as well?
Yep. No, it was perfect. It was an outstanding movie.
Producer Rob's shaking his head, I can tell you.
Sorry.
He was an anti-Edge of Tomorrow guy.
And if I'm going real old school, probably older than you, I still call Rain Man a Tom Cruise movie, even though his counterpart Dustin Hoffman got the Oscar.
Okay.
I will die on that hill.
Hey,
that is a Tom Cruise vehicle.
Okay, I like that. So today, though, we figured we'd go a little personal.
Okay.
Top 5, so not best careers. This is top 5 your favorite CFL quarterbacks.
Oh, okay.
Not best career. This is a personal
meaningful
favorite.
to me. Personal favorites. Okay. Well, first, I clearly have to set a couple of parameters. Well, one being, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to mention any active players since I am the commissioner of the league to talk about some. They're all my favorites equally.
Okay.
So favorites, I'm probably going to have to do people I've watched in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So probably won't go prior to me being born. Okay, no particular order?
No.
Is that okay? Any order? Or do you need me to 1 through 5?
Can we go 5 through 1?
5 through 1. On the spot. Okay.
I'll do a 5 through 1 as well.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah,
all right. All right. I'm going to go with, I'll start growing up in Ottawa. J.C. Watts was quarterback of the Ottawa Rough Riders at the time in the 1981 Grey Cup. Went up against the powerhouse Edmonton Eskimos at the time. Massive underdogs, took them out to a huge lead at the halftime. Of course, the Eskimos came back and won it with a last-second kick. But J.C. Watts was a favorite for me to watch. I'm going to put him at 5.
Okay, so I'm being a bit cheeky here.
Yeah.
I've never watched this guy play.
Okay.
But I love his nephew. I think his nephew is a phenomenal play caller, Mark Mueller.
Yes.
So I'm going to go Ron Lancaster.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
I'm just saying. I put him my favorite. I've never obviously met the man. But because of his nephew, who's the OC for the Rough Riders, he gets number 5 for me.
Well, that's a personal connection, and that's fine. And certainly I've read so much about Ron Lancaster. He'd be on that other list of greatest ever.
Yes, of course.
But in terms of favorites for me, all right, who am I going to go with next? I think I'll go with a surprise. Another one maybe after JC. I think I'll go with Dieter Brock. Wow. Look where I'm going. Dieter Brock.
Okay.
It's about moments. And when he was playing in the league, the strength of his arm was, I played quarterback very poorly in high school, and to watch him and what he could do with the ball, I don't think the strength of his arm was so impressive. Dieter Brock at 4.
Okay, I'm going to go, my next 1, 2, 3 for me I have seen.
Yeah.
Number 4, I know personally. I'm going to go with Warren Moon. I'll explain why. He resided in the Seattle area when I was playing for Seattle. And there are like certain athletes where when they walk around, they just have like an aura to them.
Yep.
And they're like, whoa, that's like Warren Moon. Like wherever Warren like walked around, he's such a legendary guy in both leagues. And meeting him, again, I do not know Warren well, but every interaction, which was probably 15 to 20,
yep,
he was just like, always, hey, Luke, how are you? Comes over, says hello, shakes your hand. I got nothing but time for Warren Moon. So I'm going to go Warren Moon, just because of how he treated me when I was in Seattle.
Well, that's a great reason.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to jump ahead to my number 1, because my number 1 is Warren Moon.
Okay, there we go.
Is Warren Moon. Watching him through that run in the 70s into the 80s I was just a kid. But I still think of him as having the purest ball I've ever seen thrown in the CFL.
Yeah.
Like, it was pure. Every throw was so beautiful to watch. And obviously his skill was immense and his ability to win unmatched. So even though I'm skipping order, but because you said Warren Moon, he is my number 1.
Okay, you're going to appreciate my number 3. It's Bo Levi Mitchell.
No.
So obviously he's had a tremendous career, but one of the things that's kind of fun is, so he won a state championship for the Katy Tigers, which is just outside of Houston.
Yep.
I went to Rice, and my roommate was his center, or like his left guard, and his first school before going to Eastern Washington. Don't get me wrong, it's either Eastern. He's gonna be mad at me because I should know this. He started at SMU. Southern Methodist University, and Rice and SMU back then, we were in the same conference. It was kind of a big rivalry, because they usually beat us. But it was like, he was my age. I knew kind of a lot of his friends through my college roommate. He won a state championship as a Texas high school quarterback. There was a lot of like, man, Bo Levi's playing as a true freshman at SMU, that whole thing. So I've always kind of followed Bo.
Yeah.
And I like the guy. We met, I think officially at the Grey Cup this year. Seems like a great guy. I'll put him number 3.
Look at you. Of course, I said I can't choose active players.
Yes.
I will say
yes.
Bo Levi seems like an outstanding gentleman.
Yeah.
I've met him a few times now. I've seen him on the set here at TSN, doing a great job as well. Great choice. Okay, so I'm going to go back to number 3, Damon Allen.
That's okay. Yeah, that's very. Yep.
Damon Alice.
Of course.
Watching him, no matter what team he played on, and he played on several, just an incredible quarterback. Watched him deliver results in Grey Cups and yardage. And I certainly knew Marcus in the NFL.
Yeah.
But to watch Damon do what he did, what I thought was special.
I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I would say, and is this fair? And some historians might get after me a little bit, and I don't want to. I got a feeling this guy might be your number 2. But like he kind of got after some of the rivalries with Doug Flutie.
You've guessed well at my number 2. You've guessed very well. I guess I led you into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was one of the few who could kind of keep up with that.
Totally.
But he's simply outstanding. And let me just carry on to number 2.
Go number 2 for sure.
And he I would put in the classification as greatest of all time.
Yeah.
He is, as much as I love Warren Moon, I just have Doug Flutie. What he did in the CFL.
You have 6 MOPs. Does that sound right?
That sounds exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wild.
Just wild, and deserved every one of them. I mean, what a perfect player for our league, and very, very special, and very special for me to have been, maybe in the height of my fandom as a young man, to be able to watch that and go to games and see it live, and it was really special.
My 2 is the next 2 guys are both active, but my 2 is Cody Fajardo. I got to follow Cody this year. I think we had like 3 Fridays in a row with Edmonton, and started to dig into his story, the fact that even his time in Montreal, winning the Grey Cup there. I just love the storyline. I feel like he's kind of one of those guys who probably hasn't been given the respect he deserves.
Yep.
And you see how he plays that way.
Yeah.
And really, like, I found Edmonton this year, and I was pulling for him to be like a very fun story. Like, they were a couple plays away from probably sneaking into the playoffs. And Cody, to me, like, I see him out there, he's just gritty, dude. Like, I like watching the guy play football. So he's my number 2.
Love it. Outstanding player. And what they did in Edmonton coming off the start that they had this year, incredibly impressive.
My number 1, his jersey is right behind your head. It's Zach Collaros. And it's 95, well, let's go 99% from my time with the Grey Cup with him. I felt like we became best friends.
There you go.
I just love the guy.
Are we best friends?
Yeah, that's pretty much was it. I mean, we did a lot of prep going into that and just kind of watching him work. So what I say about like some of the television stuff is you can always tell the guys like take it really serious. And we spent hours pre-shows being like, all right, man, like, and we kind of went over storylines. And I was like wildly impressed with his ball knowledge. We got to the point where I think he's going to come make a couple guest appearances for my youth team this year.
Wow.
I think. We'll see if he comes through. I got a feeling he will.
You sort of put it out there now.
I did. I got a feeling he'll make the trek down the 401.
Nice.
So for me, it's got to be, and I'm looking forward to him playing next year in Winnipeg.
Good.
Kind of right the ship, hopefully.
Well, there you go. What a career he's had. I got to meet him again in Grey Cup as well. And
how's you guys are?
We're good.
Okay.
Yes, all good.
That's my best friend I'm talking about.
That's it, and I won't mess with him.
That's right. Well, Stu, I can't thank you enough. I hope a lot of the CFL fans will appreciate hearing you drinking Spros, a little more candid. And I mean this when I say, like, I'm excited to see what the future brings. I think a lot of people around here are. And thanks for coming on the pod.
My pleasure. Thanks, Luke.